England, August 1882, at the end of the Zulu Wars. At a country residence of Her Imperial Majesty Queen Victoria, amidst an unprecedented blaze of publicity and public interest in the Zulu people of Southern Africa, an historic meeting took place between the Queen, her political and military advisors, and the defeated and exiled King of the Zulus. He came with one aim in mind. He wanted his kingdom back.
Your Majesty, His Highness Setswayo Kampande Zulu.
Ndlovukazi. Ndlovukazi. Siyawubonga umusa wendlovukazi yabamhlophe. Sifisa ukwakha ubuhlobo obunomphelo.
His Highness thanks Her Imperial Majesty for the kind way he has been received in Great Britain. He hopes he is here, he says, to seal that pact of friendship once and for all.
Your Majesty, the Colonial Office feels that any act of clemency would be a grave miscalculation of the Zulu threat. Ma'am, gentlemen, we're not merely concerned here today with a dispute over territorial borders or the revendications of a defeated king. We are called upon to defend Africa. It is, I believe, our sovereign duty, ma'am, to safeguard the well-being of those of our countrymen who have settled in these distant lands, as well as that of the Kaffir tribes who look to us to bring peace to this land that has for the past 60 years been devastated by one of the most formidable military empires ever created, the empire of Shaka Zulu, here represented by his legitimate heir, King Setswayo. Professor Bramston.
Shaka Zulu, Your Majesty. Yes, the founder of the greater Zulu nation and the Zulu Empire reigned from 1816 to 1828. Most definitely one of the greatest military geniuses in history. Certainly on the level of a Caesar or an Alexander the Great. Imagine, if you will, the prodigious feat accomplished by this 19th century African Achilles, Shaka Zulu. In less than 12 years, he transformed a handful of idyllic, relatively harmless herdsmen, who were by nature reluctant to engage in any form of warfare, into a Spartan army of over 80,000 highly trained, ruthless warriors, extending his influence over most of Southeast Africa. An empire compatible in extension and might to that of Napoleon, and in treachery to that of Genghis Khan. Your Majesty, gentlemen, the war machine created by Shaka Zulu was so monolithic, it has survived his death by almost half a century. Yes, the crown has now defeated it, but that defeat is purely temporary. It can and will rise again and again if we do not stop it once and for all. And why? Because King Shaka was no ordinary mortal. He was a messiah, a god figure. Like an African Mephistopheles, he gave the Zulus glory in return for their souls, wielding the forces of life and death on an endless battlefield of blood and carnage. Your Majesty.
Ma'am, the threat is real, and the decision before us clear. Therefore, the Colonial Office suggests that we constitute within the Zulu Kingdom a progressive destruction and dislocation of the military and economic system. In so doing, we feel that the Zulu people, deprived of central leadership, will revert to the state of innocuous bliss that they enjoyed before the insane conditioning of Shaka.
I tend to agree with Kimberly. If the Zulus won't bend, break them and be done with it. That's what I say.
I rather think we'll be doing them a favor. A return to the plow should prove to be most therapeutic for these savages. Might even bless them with a hint of civilization.
Have I meant to translate, my lords?
That won't be necessary, sir. We have so little in common. especially our concepts of human respect.
Thank you, your lordships, for your chivalry. Thank you. Tell me, what does Shaka Zulu mean to you?
He was one of those rare men who had the courage to live his ideals and to instill his dreams into the hearts of his countrymen.
That is precisely why we cannot give you back your realm. Shaka Zulu is more alive today than ever. His military strength still prevails. You are the king, but it is his spirit which rules your people. We are a practical woman, Your Highness. We will not form an alliance with a legend.
And so it was that the empire created by Shaka Zulu some 6 decades earlier was disbanded. The king's territory subdivided and placed under British supervision. The resultant political mismanagement, continual white interference in the ensuing strife, would effectively destroy the House of Shaka. From this time on, the Zulu people would only be able to dream of the dignity and the glory given them by their legendary king. This, then, is his story. The first time that Europeans began to feel the ripple effect of Shaka's war machine was in 1823. The Zulu king was at the height of his power. But like most military despots, Shaka had become both master and victim of his regime. His empire, having been born out of aggression, now required continued war action to keep it alive. Shaka had successfully attacked and crushed all the immediate neighboring territories, uniting the defeated tribes into a single Zulu nation. But Shaka needed more victims, not only to satisfy his propensity for war, but to keep his huge army employed. And so regiments were sent further afield to enlarge and enrich the empire. And as they did so, those who did not wish to subject themselves to Zulu rule fled before the onslaught, often attacking others in their flight. The effects of this tremendous upheaval touched not only the people at which it was directed, but began to be felt by the British colonists at the Cape, who themselves were beginning to expand northwards. It was, therefore, inevitable that sooner or later the two empires would clash. As a result, the governor of the Cape Colony, Lord Charles Somerset, was prompted to send an urgent communique to London.
To Lord Henry Bathurst, Majesty's Secretary of State for War and the Colonies. My lord, in consequence to your lordship's wish that I communicate in writing my deep concern for the future of the Crown's colony at the Cape of Good Hope, I beg leave to submit the following evidence regarding the menace of the Zulu nation under its king, Shaka Zulu. Since he ascended the throne of the Zulus in 1816, Shaka has forged one of the mightiest empires the African continent has ever known. In less than 6 years, his small, insignificant tribe has risen from obscurity and given its name to an all-powerful nation organized into a fearsome military machine. Shaka is known as a mass murderer, a depraved ogre whose thirst for conquest knows no limits. He has deluged his country with innocent blood, disregarding the most sacred ties of affection, turning father against son, son against brother, in a bloodbath that defies description. I regret to inform your lordship that it has reached my attention that the threat of Shaka Zulu may soon be directed at the white settlers residing in the Crown's territories. If that were to happen, the Cape would find itself virtually defenseless and at the mercy of this ruthless barbarian. I respectfully submit this pressing matter to your lordship's judgment and that of His Majesty. Signed, Sir Charles Somerset, Governor of the Cape Colony, Colonial Africa, Cape Town, January the 7th, 1823.
His Majesty the King is welcome after a pleasant night's rest. Lord Bathurst, His Majesty will see you first.
Thank you.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh. Oh, dear. For you. You go on. Yes.
Good morning, Your Majesty.
Is it, Lord Henry?
Sir.
Your expression, Lord Henry, it bodes anything but a good morning. Enough. Till tonight. We are all attention, Lord Henry.
It is the colonies, sir. We seem to be faced with a slight problem.
Your office always seems to be having slight problems with the colonies, doesn't it, Lord Henry?
Well, sir, it is the colonial office. And if one deals with melting pots, one is apt to be scorched once in a while.
Well, who is it this time? The Canadians?
No, sir. I'm happy to report that the remainder of North America is still under our thumb, so to speak. It is Africa, I'm afraid, sir. I have received a most alarming missive from Lord Somerset at the Cape. It concerns the Zulus, sir.
The Zulus? Are you implying that the colonial office of the British Empire considers a tribe of savages running around in their birthday suits a problem? Oh, really? What ineffable twaddle, Lord Henry.
It is somewhat more than a tribe, sir. We are convinced that we are at grips with a proper empire of 250,000 such birthday suits.
Really? My, they do multiply, don't they? Like bunnies.
Your Majesty. Your Majesty. It is possible that the Zulus will attack the Cape. If that should happen, we would have to deal with a very large number of these bunnies under the leadership of a March hare by the name of Shaka.
Well, then, send on reinforcements.
We had thought of that, sir. But it is rather a long way to the Cape. 6,000 miles and 4 months by sea, to be precise. And I fear that by the time we have trained fresh troops in the art of native warfare and shipped them in loco, it would be too late.
Well, then, transfer some of our Bengali troops from India.
And lose India, sir.
Then use mercenaries.
Not to be trusted, I fear.
Rubbish.
Your own words, sir.
Look out there, Lord Henry. What do you see falling?
Rain, sir.
And is that a frequent occurrence in England? Rain falling, I mean.
Alas, sir, all too frequent.
And what do our colonies represent for us?
Sunshine, sir.
Precisely. And it is your privilege to safeguard our sunshine. Thomas Jefferson drove my poor father out of his wits. I trust you will keep the same fate for me. Tend to the Zulus, Bathurst. Or it'll be our sad task to find someone who can.
Your Majesty.
The Zulu armies were now fighting their way steadily south. The noisy victory celebrations echoing across the Cape's northern frontier, ominously signifying Shaka's advance on the colonists. In Cape Town itself, at the Castle of Good Hope, Lord Charles Somerset anxiously awaited word from his superiors in London. But nothing appeared to be forthcoming, and time was running out.
We have been blind, gentlemen. Here we are trying to devise a way of confronting him with an entire regiment, and all we need is a solitary Caucasian. I'm afraid I don't follow you, sir. Let us pretend, for the sake of discourse, Worthing, that you are King Chaka. Let us also pretend, Wilkins, that you are that ruthless cutthroat so vividly described in Somerset's missive. Now, you are toying with the idea of attacking the whites, creatures you have never even set eyes on. Would that not make you slightly wary? I mean, it's all very well to fight against known odds, but against lunarians, That is a very different kettle of fish. What if a Lunarian came to visit you at your court as a diplomat of sorts from the other world? And what if he said to you, now, hold on, Shaka, hold on, we know what you're up to now. Hear me out before you start tipping the scales of war. We have spears that spit fire, you know, see for yourself. Bang, bang. A lion drops dead at 600 paces. We also have a magic powder that can produce lightning and hollow logs that make thunder.
You mean frighten him?
In a wording, yes.
Surely his spies will have told him about our cannons and our gunpowder?
Yes, quite possibly. But these are not our only superior weapons. We have one other, gentlemen. Civilization. Years of tried and tested double talk. If we cannot soothe the savage beast, we can at least confuse him whilst we mount an effective military defensive.
Where do you suggest we locate a Lunarian disposed to go down there and carry out this novel scheme?
I think I may know the very man that you need, Worthing. As I had the pleasure and honor of serving under him in His Majesty's Royal Navy. Lieutenant Francis George Farewell. A master of land and sea, and just eccentric enough to perhaps want to do it.
First, making Shaka's acquaintance. That in itself should prove to be a major obstacle.
Now, to begin with,
Thank you.
let us, to use a nautical term, take the bearings of our problem. From reports that I was privileged to acquire on my last trip to Portuguese Delegado, it would appear that Shaka's capital, a place which the natives call Bulawayo, if I remember correctly, it lies somewhere in this vicinity. There are two ways of reaching it. Overland from the Cape, though I would exclude this option, considering that the only white man so far to have attempted the journey, a Dr. Cowan by name, was never heard of again. Which leaves us with an approach by sea. Landing somewhere along this coast, the wild coast of Natal. From a recent survey made by the Admiralty, the two most likely places for landing are St. Lucia Bay and Rio de Natal. Though that too could prove a problem, I think.
In what way, Lieutenant?
Well, no one's ever landed on that coast. And lived to brag about it, that is.
Colonel Clutie to see you, sir.
Oh, what is it, Colonel?
News from the north, sir. Shaka.
What's that damn savage up to now?
Well, sir, from what I've been able to sift from the reports, there is every reason to believe that the Zulus are now fighting right on the frontier.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir. I took the liberty of checking my sources. It spells trouble, sir. Any chance of those reinforcements from London?
Not likely, Colonel.
However, the fact that no one has yet conquered that coast doesn't mean that I will. God knows I've been in some tight spots in my sailing days.
Does that mean that you'll be joining us then, sir?
Oh, most definitely, Tim. Yes, I would never miss a chance to serve my king and collect the ivory.
Did you say ivory, Lieutenant?
Natal is said to be a paradise for ivory hunters. My dear Worthing, Has it not occurred to you that I should need good and adventurous men to join me on this mission? Men who are willing and above all able to face the hazards of that coast, and more particularly Shaka Zulu. Experience has taught me that men of that caliber are very often greedy. What would you say to have me entice them? That you're doing it for the honor of your king, for the glory of Britannia? I need courage, Worthing, not patriotism. And there's always a price on courage. And in this case, it shall be paid in ivory. Farewell, Trading Company. I rather like the sound of it, don't you?
You said that there were two major problems. Now, the first, if I understand correctly, is reaching Shaka. What is the other?
Why, the most obvious, Jim. Convincing the king of a primitive empire that our civilization is to be feared. When, in fact, we are not a match for him out there. Centuries of enlightenment do not necessarily make a country or its people militarily stronger. Indeed, as Attila the Hun proved, domestication is usually a weakening factor. No, no, fear's not the answer. I'm sure that Shaka is more of a specialist in that than we could ever be. Now, we just have to find another emotion to work with. Pride or vanity?
Vanity, Francis. That is the greatest weakness of all men, whether they be Huns, Englishmen, or Zulus.
Elizabeth! Elizabeth, let me introduce to you Mr. Worthing, Tim Wilkins, gentlemen, my wife.
Ma'am? Enchanted, ma'am. Lieutenant, I had no idea you were married.
Most people find it hard to believe that my husband shares his life with anything but his dreams.
And without the benefit of my wife's practical mind, my dreams would go hopelessly adrift. Then let's drink to the sunshine of the colonies and to the ivory.
To Lord Charles Somerset, Governor of the Cape Colony, Colonial Africa. My dear Lord Charles, I cannot begin to tell you how alarmed I was upon reading your missive of the 7th January ultimo. I assure you that His Majesty and I share your deep concern for the Zulu threat, as you so vividly outlined it. Unfortunately, due to the economic and military retrenchment policies the Crown has adopted since the end of the Napoleonic Wars, His Majesty's government is not at this time prepared to sanction the allocation of British troops.
However, Sir Charles, after adequate deliberation, the Colonial Office has devised an alternate plan, the architect of which, Lieutenant Francis George Farewell, of your acquaintance, the bearer of this missive. I trust your lordships will concede that Lieutenant Farewell's undertaking is entitled to every encouragement and assistance,
being of such hazard and, if successful, likely to lead to the best possible solution of the problem at hand.
You? 60,000 ferocious Zulu warriors bent on attacking this colony. And what do I have from the Crown to prevent them slaughtering every man, woman, and child in their path? A haughty letter of apology. And no offense, Lieutenant, but you... I need a drink. Will you join me, Lieutenant? Be glad to, Sir Charles.
In approximately 2 months' time, I intend to land a party of hand-picked men on the shores of Natal. Ostensibly, our presence there will be that of ivory traders, but trading will be merely a cover. My ultimate purpose will be to contact Shaka Zulu in order to secure an alliance with His Majesty King George.
Alliances are made for civilized peoples, not savages. The whole idea is absurd.
Even if you were successful in obtaining some sort of agreement, Shaka would never respect his end of the bargain. Their values of good and evil, life and death, are completely devoid of a moral code. Will their actions prove that? There is no defined perspective in their human relations. They're pagans, Lieutenant, and pagans lack reason.
Oh, do they, Reverend? Well, wasn't Cicero a pagan? Tacitus, Virgil, Homer, Julius Caesar, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates. Do I need to continue?
Those men were enlightened, Lieutenant. You can't possibly compare them to Shaka. He's a barbarian, an assassin.
So was Charlemagne in his own very special way.
I fail to see your point, Mr. Farewell.
Lord Charles, the only chance the Crown has of preserving its territories in Africa or America or in Asia is if it finally sheds its hypocrisy and starts treating others as equals. Well, I believe that that is the true Christian message. Wouldn't you agree, Reverend? Or does our moral code justify our own ends? Anyway, I intend to contact Shaka Zulu in order to negotiate an alliance with Britain. And in doing so, I can only hope that King Shaka will prove more reasonable than Pope Alexander Borgia would have been.
I appreciate your idealism, Mr. Farewell. But you've obviously not been made aware of the situation in Africa.
And I suspect that Mr. Fector, our experienced Dutch resident, knows what I'm talking about. No, I don't feel that I can approve this absurd mission of yours.
But you have no choice, Lord Charles. Mr. Farewell's mandate came from Downing Street. And the Colonial Office requests your complete cooperation.
Well, if you would excuse us, gentlemen, we didn't brave the high seas for 4 months in order to discuss these interesting points of history. Lord Charles, I have a crew to recruit. Good day, sir.
Lieutenant, please excuse me, gentlemen. Mr. Farewell, may I walk with you? I want you to understand, Mr. Farewell, that you are planning to confront an awesome savagery.
Thank you, Mr. Fector. I shall certainly heed your warning.
Mr. Farewell, I want to go with you on your expedition. Also, I speak the Xhosa language, which is fairly similar to the Zulu language, reasonably well. In short, Mr. Farewell, I may be indispensable to your expedition.
Perhaps you are.
Is that an Englishman's way of saying that you'll take me?
Perhaps.
The situation at the frontier was now becoming almost untenable. With the Zulu onslaught pushing steadily south, the fleeing tribes were having to vie for what territory remained. Desperate, pitched battles frequented the northern borders, and the frontier farmers became increasingly nervous of the instability being caused by these violent encounters. They demanded urgent action from Lord Charles.
Blast! Tell that damn Farewell to do something and fast. Dismissed.
Yes, sir.
But Lieutenant Francis George Farewell was not to be pushed by the rantings of a disgruntled Lord Charles. Knowing the value of careful planning for an expedition such as he was putting together, he meticulously sought out people he knew would be of value to him, which brought him into contact with me. A meeting which I might add would change the course of my already eventful and extraordinary encounter with Africa, and indeed would change my whole life.
Hello, Mr. Finn. This is Lieutenant Farewell. We sent a message to your lodgings about the possibility of joining Mr. Farewell's upcoming expedition to Natal.
As my medical adjutant and superintendent of cargo, Mr. Fechter tells me that your experience in both areas is quite extensive.
I got the message, yes. They say it prevents infection, though after 4 bouts of malaria, I'm beginning to doubt its efficacy.
Malaria? Is that what they have?
That and sundry assortments of yellow fever, dysentery, cholera, and diseases of the soul that are far harder to diagnose and almost impossible to cure. It's only by the grace of God that any of these people will reach their as-yet unknown destinations alive. Or maybe it's his will that they don't. So, Lieutenant, why are you venturing into those forsaken regions?
What do you know about a man named Shaka?
Does that answer your question, Lieutenant? The Masani tribe, Umulos, Lubis, Unus, the Ungwanis, countless others, the banished of Southeast Africa, fleeing Shaka's spears, going straight into the arms of the white slave traders and the British troops on the borders of the Cape Colony. In a way, Lieutenant, they are the ultimate victims of recent history. If you'll favor my comparison, they are the wandering Jews of Africa, fleeing the pharaoh Shaka into the Babylonian captivity of slavery.
Finn, if this empire is quite vast, and I'm told that it is, then the pharaoh must be giving his people something in return for their fidelity, or they'd all be wandering.
Have you read Faust, Lieutenant?
Marlowe's, Bacon's, Lessing's, or Goethe's?
Touché. What was Faust given in return for his fidelity? There's a legend, Lieutenant, amongst the native witch doctors, of a child, a prophetic child. They say he'll bring with him an era in which the name Amazulu will signify terror and death. Many people see Shaka as the incarnation of that prophecy.
Oh, come now, Finn. You're far too intelligent to believe in that kind of hocus-pocus, surely.
I've seen that child, Farewell. Not in flesh and blood. In the eyes of the Fingos. In the eyes of these prisoners.
Well then, tell me now, how do you suggest we go about stopping this diabolical child with a stake through the heart on the eve of the full moon?
If there's no other way, Lieutenant, then we will have to kill him.
Well, I don't think we're going to be taking many stakes with us, but possibly might find ways of doing the same thing less bloodily. You going to be with us?
Are you going, Mr. Fechter?
Oh, yes, Mr. Finn.
Then yes, Lieutenant. I may as well be with you. And may God help us.
Next gentleman, please. Now, please be patient. We won't be long.
Your name?
Henry Ogle, sir.
Yes. Do sit down, Mr. Ogle.
Thank you, sir.
Now, you know all about this expedition, do you?
Pretty much, sir. Up the East Coast.
Your trade, Mr. Ogle?
Sailor, sir. But also useful on land.
Served on decent ships?
The best, sir. HMS Victory.
Good. You're in. Now, in due course, you will be reporting to Mr. Fechter here, and he will begin to teach you basic Zulu. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next man, Tim, please.
Tonino.
Tonino who?
Just Tonino.
Just Tonino? Oh. And, where do you hail from, just Tonino?
Italy.
Italy? Do you?
Your purpose, sir?
For the adventure.
I think we may be able to supply a little of that.
Morning, sir.
Your name?
Popham, sir.
I see. And Popham is your surname, presumably?
No, sir.
No, it's your Christian name.
I'm not a Christian, sir.
John Kane, sir. 45. Qualified seaman. Can cook, can handle a rifle as well as anybody.
Valuable qualifications, sir. Prove them to us and you're in.
Thank you, sir.
Tim, next man.
Next.
Zacharias Abrahams.
Please come in, sir. Mr. Zacharias Abrahams, gentlemen.
Mr. Abrahams. Well, now. You're not proposing to travel with us, sir, are you?
I hope to, Mr. Finn.
Mr. Abrahams is a leader of the commercial community here in Cape Town.
Mr. Abrams, with the greatest respect to you, our journey will be arduous and we think dangerous. And it will probably be of considerable duration.
Lieutenant, I have experienced over 60 interesting years, but I am exceptionally sound in my health.
Tell me, Mr. Abrams, how do you see your positive contribution?
With all due respect to the rest of the expedition, sir, I would be the most successful trader on the east coast of Africa, not excepting the go-ahead Americans or the clever Arabs. Great Britain needs to develop territories for trade, and I would continue to be a valuable British subject.
Lieutenant, let me help you.
Get him out of the water!
Come on, Finn, the people's still alive out there. Come and give me a hand.
All right. Oh, oh.
Oh, Lieutenant! Lieutenant, look over here! Lieutenant! Lieutenant! Look at those men!
Look!
Lieutenant! Mr. Finn! Lieutenant! Anybody! Look over here! Help! Hugo! Help! Lieutenant! Mr. Finn! Lieutenant! Come on! Come on! Put those weapons down! Put them down! Stand still! Everyone!
Mr. Factor, go and tell him that we come in peace from the King of the Whites. Tell him that we want to meet Shaka. Go.
Morwe, Selete, Uncont, Obelen, Cossini, Abamshlo, Sikela, Ukubonana, Nenkozi Ushaka. Letenla.
Stand still!
Yenantuna.
Sihamba naye ngoba ukhuluma ulimi lethu. Asiya!
I suspect they're taking me because of the language. I'll do my best. I don't think they intend to harm us.
What do we do now?
Just wait. It's the only thing we can do.
Bring him in.
Ndabezi.
What do you think, Oman?
A scouting party. That's what it is. Goes.
What is your tribe?
The Dutch, Nkosi.
What do you do? Are you a warrior?
I was a farmer. Now I'm a teacher.
And what do you teach?
I teach children to read and to write.
What nonsense is that?
May I show you Nkosi?
So,
a written word that reads Shaka.
Mletenla. That is I.
It is the visual representation of your name. And this is my name. Pete.
What is this marking used for? Witchcraft? Casting spells?
No, Nkosi. It is used to transmit ideas, feelings, over great distances.
I have messengers for that.
But this ensures that what you say here is heard there in exactly your words.
I am already assured of that, Pete. If my messengers misrepresent me, they are dead.
Writing can also be used to store what you say today, so that it can be heard, generations from now.
The only way to store ideas, feelings, is in the mind and in the heart. And my future generations will hear the voice of the wind, bringing messages from long ago of Shaka.
Yes. And that voice will speak of tyranny.
Is that what you whites think of me? A tyrant?
That is the message brought to them by the wind.
Do you all speak our language?
Not all of them, Nkosi, no. But they are learning. Already there are some who know enough to be able to speak to you.
You interest me, white man. Since you know our language well, I'll honor you. From now on, you are a Zulu. And you shall act as my interpreter. You shall teach my people your language. And your people, my language. If you do well, I'll reward you handsomely. But if you fail me,
I shall kill each and every member of your party. Is that clear? 13. Omane, I want the armies assembled by the next full moon.
For a handful of men, Nkosi. Men who come in peace.
Are you my friend, Gomane?
Yes, Nkosi, I am.
In spite of the fact that I can take your life at a moment's notice?
That is the basis of our friendship, Nkosi. We share a common life, my own. That is it.
And so it will be with the white men. When they realize my capability to destroy their people at a moment's notice, then I'll discuss friendship.
It was not without some trepidation that we embarked upon what was to be a 10-day journey to Kwaabulawayo. We were led across breathtakingly beautiful landscapes, where the wildlife appeared to accept our intrusion without too much concern. And then a sight to gladden the heart of any fortune hunter. Farewell had not lied when he promised his men more ivory than they could possibly hope to take with them. But it was made clear to us that there would be no hunting without Shaka's permission. As we passed the many villages which dotted the landscape, some of the people would hide, while others would gather at a distance and stare at us in amazement. It soon became clear to us that we were being taken on a somewhat roundabout route, so as to display to us the wealth, order, and discipline of the king's realm. It was indeed impressive, especially the regimental kraals. They dotted the landscape at 10 to 20-mile intervals, and confirmed our fears of Shaka being able to muster an overwhelmingly powerful army capable of driving the British forces into the sea. But quite unbeknown to us, our venture had already turned the tide of Shaka's advance. For in order to impress us with a show of power, he'd been recalling his troops to the capital, and in so doing had taken the pressure off the Cape frontier. By the 7th day, we approached a small village, no different to any other. But the old saying of fools rushing in where angels fear to tread was to take on a new meaning for us here. For I was about to get involved in a situation which was dangerously to affect our future relationship with the King of the Zulus.
Mana!
I should imagine that men whose skins are the color of spirits would be welcome at a funeral.
Hans!
Put it down, will you? Put her down! Down!
Ben! What the devil do you think you're doing?
Francis, the girl's alive. I saw her move. Now will somebody tell him to put her down? Put her down!
Ningaphazamisi! Ngoba isangoma sikahle sininuke! Sithi ningabathakathi! Bese kuba ukufa lokho! Ningaphazamisi! Ngoba isangoma sikahle sininuke! Sithi ningabathakathi! Bese kuba ukufa lokho!
He's warning us not to interfere. or the Isangoma, the diviner, may accuse us of being abatakati, wizards. And that could mean death.
She's alive. She's burning with fever, but she's alive. We need to get her back to the kraal.
Uti. Mpendi, Selene, Ikaya.
Wazan, nimthathe nimbuyisele ekhaya.
Needless to say, Francis saw the incident as a means to some kind of end. But none of us, I think, realized just how dangerous the situation was. I'd meddled with the course of life and death. Now we would have to succeed in bringing the girl back to health if we ourselves were to survive the whole affair.
I'll need some more cold water, Tim. Amanzi? Amanzi?
Amanzi Abendayo.
Siyabonga.
The already tense atmosphere created by the presence of the local witch doctor, who watched my every move with cold antagonism, was heightened by the ominous sounds of the royal regiments as they passed through the night on their way to the king's capital. It made Shaka's army omnipresent.
Where's that water?
Ah, it's here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any sign?
I think so. I think so. Come on now. Wake up.
Umntana, uyaphila. Uyaphila umntana. Uyaphila. Uyaphila umntanami. Akafile. Umntana uyaphila. Uyaphila umntana. Uyaphila umntana. Uyaphila. Uyaphila umntanami. Akafile. Umntana uyaphila. Uyaphila umntana.
I suppose now we're going to get executed as wizards.
On the contrary, they believe you've resurrected her.
Farewell. That is blasphemous and preposterous.
And very useful. Could be our means of survival.
How do you mean?
Well, to all intents and purposes, you have resurrected her. Now, we'd be very foolish not to use that to our advantage.
A man without scruples could very easily become a guard in this country, couldn't he? Lieutenant. I'd have no part of it.
No, I shan't expect it of you. But when he learns of this miracle, and I suggest to you that Shaka will, and that you will be in no position to refuse. Besides, Finn, this fits awfully neatly into your Faustian notion of the Zulu king, doesn't it?
Who better suited to deal with Mephistopheles
than you, Dr. Finn, than you?
And so began the 8th day of our journey to Bulawayo. We'd been given the name Swallows by our Zulu hosts, because like those tenacious little birds, we'd apparently, like magic, come across the sea. Our journey was, unbeknown to us at the time, being watched closely by the most powerful Isangoma, or witch doctor in the realm. News of our medical exploits had spread like wildfire, and we were to learn later that we'd incurred the wrath of the witch doctor fraternity. That night, as we camped along the banks of a river not too far from the capital, she, Sitai, of whom we were to hear a great deal later, went ahead of us to Bulawayo for a private audience with the king.
You must not meet with these men, Baba. It is dangerous.
Why? Because you fear their powers exceed your own? Can you bring the dead back to life?
Beware, Baba. Those who wish to be saved by magic often become its servants. We have no need of their powers. You are Zulu. You possess the heavens.
If what they say is true, then the Isangoma possesses powers we cannot ignore. I want those powers at my service.
Remember the condition of the prophecy. Do not defy the ancestors by reaching for powers that are not of your heritage, or the heavens will destroy you through your own blood.
My God. Is that an exclamation or a prayer?
Well, there's your first report to the Colonial Office, Tim. Just 8 words. You've not got a cat's chance in hell.
Now, don't be downcast, gentlemen. Look at it this way. We are entering lands that no white man has ever seen. This moment is tremendous. And your names will go down in history.
Whose history, sir? Ours? Or theirs?
Well, were I a betting man, Tim, I think I'd probably have to say theirs.
Linanda! Lisobis! Asiya!
We have to wait here until he sends for us.
Who's moving?
Dabizita. The whites have arrived, Sigit.
So I see. That girl, Mkobos, the one they say came back to life, was she really dead?
Yes, Ndabizita. In my opinion, she was.
Inform their chief and the Sangoma that they may enter the royal kraal.
Ndabizita. The whites are magicians, Shaka. They work with illusion. They have taught us to live in reality. Even if the whites had 100 lives each, those lives would be not worth a single dedicated life of one Zulu, because we are superior.
The leopard is also superior, Mkobos. He is a sovereign among the masters. Each proud day of his life is worth 100 days in the life of a raven. Yet if the leopard were offered wings to fly, it would be foolish to refuse them.
No, Shaka. The leopard's kingdom is the earth. On the earth, he is the master. In the skies, he becomes a victim. If the whites offer you wings, it is because they wish to make you their victim.
Do you hear that, Ngoma? He's been with the whites for a few days, and already he fears for the security of the state. Their powers must be great indeed. Puma! And Kopos! Never abuse our friendship again.
Masquerading, isn't it, Francis? On the contrary, the comedy is only beginning, and I suggest we give the public its money's worth.
I never was very good at play acting.
Well, have a shot at it anyway. Because the minute we reach those gates, I have a feeling that we are in for a carefully planned theatrical display.
What do you have in mind? Othello?
More like Macbeth, I fancy.
There's an awful lot of them, isn't there?
Mr. Factor?
Not as relieved as I am to see you, Mr. Farewell, Mr. Fed.
Well, what do we do?
Well, right now he's intrigued by your horses.
Ah.
He wants to know more about them, especially their speed and endurance.
And where is he?
He's back there, watching.
Oh, I see. It's as I thought, Mr. Finn. Curtain our back one, off we go!
What the hell's going on?
Come on.
Francis! I think we have a race on our hands! Well, let's show them a thing or two!
What do you think? I don't know. But I hope to God we win.
Get on it!
How are you feeling, Mr. Wilkins?
Nervous?
Yes.
I think we might have made a mistake, Francis.
Oh, why? Do you think we should have lost on purpose?
It might have been more diplomatic.
No. The most diplomatic thing that we could do is to show this shark that we're not clowns.
Your colonial office has no idea what it's up against.
Yeah, it's broken the ice, isn't it?
Breaking the ice? Is that what you'd call it? By proving that he can tame that animal. He's trying to prove to himself that he can tame us. I fear our position is more precarious than ever, Francis. There was no doubt as to Shaka's thoroughness. He had deliberately delayed our arrival so as to prepare his capital to receive us. And in so doing, he'd made use of the time to ensure that we were fully aware of his power before we met with him. Now our gifts also showed our miscalculation of the man's intelligence. He was unimpressed and mostly dismissed the items, passing them over to the royal ladies. But as would always be the case with our royal host, he would never fail to surprise us with the unexpected. Indeed, our introduction to the Black Emperor would prove to be the first of many harrowing experiences.
Tell him these gifts come with the compliments of his brother, King George.
Lizzie, Yesibo, Kunya Nombolizo, Ovella, Kumfowano, Nkosi Ujoji. He wants to see those things on your face, Mr. Fenn. Your glasses.
Ndabezitha. Ndabezitha.
Dadewethu kababa imhlola yini. Le ndoda ayifuni ukubona umhlaba njengoba unjalo.
This man does not want to see the world as it truly is.
Does anybody?
Thank you. Pampata.
Ndabezi.
How very poignant. Centuries of poets, and not one of them has thought of giving the fallen angel a mirror.
Inkosi yenu George, ingumuntu onjani?
He wants to know, what does George look like?
Tell him tall and powerful, not unlike the great elephant himself.
Nkosi Ujoji, mude, uphakeme, unamandla. He asks to see the wood that makes music.
How the hell does he know? Because a man who's as powerful as he is has eyes and ears everywhere. Now get going.
Yes, sir. If Francis thought he was playing a game of outmaneuver, then he could not have chosen a more formidable adversary.
Lekwelakini impilo yomuntu ngabe isezandleni zikabani kwezenkosi noma kwezabalandeli bayo.
In your country, he asks, to whom does life belong? To the king or to his subjects?
In our country, each man is lord of his own life, and only his own life. King included, tell him.
Kwela kubo, wonke umuntu usiphathela impilo yakhe, nenkosi isiphathela iyayo impilo.
Inkosi yanithumela impilo ukuba nihlasele.
Can your king make you go to war? He asks.
Yes?
Niyafa empini.
And can you die in war?
Yes.
Yebo, ungafa.
Akusilona-ke iqiniso lokho kushoyo. Yonke impilo ingeyenkosi.
Then you are wrong, he says. Your king owns life.
Ngokufanayo-ke nakuleli. Konke ukuphila kwabantu kusezandleni zami. Ngakho-ke beningenalo ilungelo lokuthi nimphilise ngaphandle kwami mina Ndlovu enkulu.
Here, life belongs to Shaka. Her life belongs to Shaka. And you had no right to give her life without the great elephant's permission.
He's going to kill her. What the hell do you think you're doing? In God's name, we've got to stop him. We are in no position to stop anything. What would you have me do? Just sit here and watch? Yes, Finn, that's exactly what we must do.
Esikhathini ezizayo amandla enu kufanele wasebenzise ekusizakaleni kwami mina Ndlovu.
He says that in the future, you will use your powers for the benefit of the great elephant.
Wemgobozi. Abasebenzile ufakazi balokho. Nanguya abamvusi.
He says, if we whites truly possess these powers, let them prove it. Let them resurrect her again.
Tell the king that we have disobeyed him once and that we will not make the same mistake again. From now on, our powers will be used solely for his benefit. Tell him.
Uthi, sebeke bawephula, kwakanye, umthetho wenkosi, bangeke, besaliphinda, lelo phutha, njengesifiso, sendlovu enkulu, sebusothi, kusuku lamanje, Uazibenzis, Amantla, Ukuze, Kuzizagale, Yanin calls.
Kuzoba ukusizakala kwami mina Ndlovu enkulu. Uma izinkonjane singabuveza ubuciko bamandla azo.
He says it's exactly for the benefit of the great elephant that the swallows must prove their powers.
Finn, resurrect her.
You're mad.
No, I'm not mad. But you were when you jumped into that grave. Now you do something or you'll be digging ours.
The whites are magicians, Shaka. They work with illusion. You have taught us to live in reality.
Let in.
Give him the box, Mr. Ogle.
If we were going to win this game, we would have to play it a lot better than this. For the pieces had been set, and checkmate could mean death for all of us. Having survived the horrendous ordeal of the gift ceremony, we began to settle into the daily life at Quabble, which I must say was not at all an unpleasant experience, if one could turn a blind eye to the often terrifying events surrounding life at the royal court. We, however, contrary to our fears, were treated with the greatest courtesy. We had miscalculated the man's intelligence. It was clear that he knew enough about the Cape Colony and the whites to make him suspicious of our motives. From the start, he adopted a conciliatory attitude, while at the same time making us fully aware of his ability to destroy us, and possibly the Cape Colony, if he so desired. Every day we witnessed extravagant ceremonies performed with a kind of military precision the likes of which would be the envy of the British War Office. It was perfectly obvious that Shaka knew the value of carefully planned dramatic events. His citadel, ominously named Kwa Bulawayo, the place of the killing, was the center of all important events. Every morning the people were summoned in their thousands to attend court proceedings. Carefully guarded by his Ufa Simba regiment, his feared personal bodyguard, he underwent a ritual morning anointing, his body being greased down with a mixture of red ochre and sheep's tail fat. While outside in the royal area in front of the king's huge hut, the people were assembled. He then appeared, preceded by half a dozen or so praise singers, all recounting the heroic deeds of the king from boyhood to the present. The people, in one voice, would echo the praise singers, shouting and crashing their shields. This terrifying and indeed awe-inspiring spectacle being sustained entirely at the king's pleasure. Should anyone tire before the king's signal to cease, they would be slaughtered at a whim by the Ufa Simba regiment. We noticed that the people remained untiring in their admiration. At the king's signal, the daily court was constituted, and in front of all present, the law according to Shaka would be dispensed. He was the ultimate court of appeal, the sole source of law, and, like a Solomon, settled important disputes arbitrarily. The most important member of the council was Ngomane, his prime minister, whom he frequently did consult and appeared to respect. It was, however, the military side, which, as we'd already seen during the trek to the capital, was the most impressive. Regiment upon regiment of highly disciplined warriors trained in the apparently unique Shaka battle method. His generals, drawn from those early days when he was training his men himself, were his most trusted friends, and were the only people in his domain to whom he really gave a full ear. And indeed, they were the ones trusted with the expansion of the empire's borders. In these ranks, Shaka could not afford any form of treachery. Which brings me to Dingaan, the king's half-brother, a man who few at Kwa Bulawayo trusted.
We share the same blood, Mfui. Few men know you as well as I.
Dingaan had managed to survive only because the king was using him to lead him ultimately to the most dangerous traitors in his midst. Indeed, unbeknown to us, Dingaan was planning with Shaka's enemies. One of them, the most powerful and dangerous of them all, Zwide.
These so-called swallows have almost reached Kwa Bulawayo. That is the time to strike. Let the people think that his death was caused by the curse of these white men.
But Shaka's network of bodyguards is impenetrable and incorruptible.
Nothing is impenetrable and incorruptible. See to it.
So it was that day by day we were to be drawn deeper and deeper into the intrigue surrounding the king. Francis was determined to play the game in any way he could, and as long as it was advantageous to our venture. He almost recklessly indulged the king's belief in our supernatural powers, despite the fact that with every move our position became more precarious. And what was more important, it would become increasingly difficult for us to extricate ourselves from the complicated situation we were getting ourselves into. Steadfastly, I disciplined myself into setting down the events and intrigue taking place around us. Indeed, it was a world so far removed from our experience that not even the most imaginative storyteller would have envisaged what the court of King Shaka was like. As we perused the situation, three characters, three women, began to emerge as important forces at Kwa Bulawayo. Nearly always present at important ceremonies was Nandi, the king's mother, Mkabai, the king's aunt, and Sitai, the grotesquely old and frail chief witch doctor of the realm. I suppose the best way to describe her was that she constituted the spiritual arm of his court. A bit like the Archbishop of Canterbury, I suppose, though I'm not sure he would appreciate the comparison.
What have you...
She wielded enormous power, and no one was able to tell us exactly how old she was. Fantastic figures of hundreds of years were bandied about, while her supernatural powers were exalted by all I spoke to. But it was Nandi who was to emerge as the most powerful force in a story which, as I began to piece it together, became increasingly difficult to believe. Tales of supernatural forces, great prophecies, and magical witchcraft surrounding a king's power and the making of his spear. Almost an Excalibur, as it were. But such was the conviction of the people who told me these fantastic events that I felt obliged to at least set them down and let my readers decide for themselves what was truth and what was fantasy. It all started, as far as I can logically work out, somewhere in the mid-1780s. The Zulus were a small and insignificant tribe. The king's son, the young, arrogant and reckless Prince Senzagakona, out hunting one day, was to set in motion a chain of events that would change the course of Zulu history.
This is becoming very risky, Ndabezi.
The risk is half of the fun of it. Anyway, I'll retire off long before my father finds out.
Nandi, look, it's Princess Angakona.
I know.
Now's your chance to meet him.
I know. Go now. Take them with you.
Now, Hamba.
Go.
Hamban.
Ndabezi. Ndabezi.
Kasu! Get no na pas get yang kana magate. Get buena, get Kasu! Get no na pas get yang kana magate. Get Kasu! Get Tommy! Get out close, boy, Nandi! Nandi! Aha! Kiki! I've watched you from the bushes. Your eyes told me you love me.
How can I love a man I do not know?
Kiki! Because I'm a king's son, and I cast a powerful shadow wherever I go, and you felt that shadow pass over you.
Shadow? I felt no shadow, and my eyes lied to you.
Kiki! A king's son cannot be lied to.
A king's son?
Hey! Kazu!
I'm not for the taking.
You play games with my feelings. Let us at least enjoy Amashaya. And then...
If I made love to you, must be much more. More than fun.
So be it.
What if someone sees us?
No one will. Except the birds.
Do my eyes lie to you now?
No.
show only the truth.
Nandi. How was it? Sawubona baba.
Hey, Nandi, we've been waiting for you. I've got good news. Gandhiana has honored our family by asking to marry you. And we have agreed. There'll be a bride price of 10 cattle, which we find most generous. And being that you'll be his first wife, we have decided that no matter how many others he may marry in future, you will remain his principal wife. And the first son you will bear will be considered principal heir to his father's inheritance. Upon your return from the wedding of your mother's relative to the house of Zulu, we will officially announce your betrothal to Gandhiana. What's the matter?
10 cattle, Gandhiana. That is most generous. And what do you expect from me? Love?
Nandi.
Mother, no. This is not what I want.
My apologies, Gandhiana. She'll do as she's told. Nandi.
I'm sorry, Father.
So am I, Nandi. I suppose no man has the right to father a wildcat unless he has the wisdom to tame it. Nandi, Gandhiana is a good man. He has the patience to tolerate your temper because he loves you truly. What more would you ask for?
Much more. Much more, Father.
Zanilla! What's up? Captain! I want it ready for the celebration.
Fine-looking animal.
Have you seen my bride-to-be?
Seen her? I chose her.
Naliwa! Utwala lapha! And what is she like?
Senzangakhona, dear brother. Need I remind you that the only reason you are the heir to the Zulu throne and not me is because of what is between your legs. Is it asking too much if you occasionally used it for the betterment of our kingdom? That is what she's like.
And so on the chosen day, tribes from distant territories converged on the Zulu kingdom to witness the marriage of Senzakakona to his first wife. It was an event of some importance to the Zulus. They were not a particularly strong people and needed to form alliances with more powerful tribes with whom they could unite in times of war.
King Gonzo of the Kwabes. Nabevita. King Makedama of Elange. Nabevita. King Sotubo of the Nzuzas. Nabevita. Zulu! His Majesty King Jama of the Zulus welcomes you and your families to the House of Zulu. May the festivities today bind our clans in peace.
Ngithole wena wakwaZulu.
I welcome you to the House of Zulu Ntombazane. Take care of us, and we will take care of you.
Amakansi Ntombazane.
Usaza ngakhona oye ngomnyama omasolo wabuya ngoyezi oye bemsola uthe sebuya bamzeka isibongo wawusiyaca sangamazendlela okhulume kahle kwaze kwathi lwanye wamnyamsisa levula ibhiconga lemzimba buthaka obebusobuhle bunganakusolwa nangendlala enkulu obebusobuhle yebo bungenandawo yebo yakusolwa obemlomo mhle yebo bungenandawo yebo yakusolwa obezandla zinhle yebo zingenandawo yebo yakusolwa obenyawo zinhle yebo zingenandawo yebo yakusolwa obezitho zinhle zingenandawo yebo yakusolwa obeziphundu sihle yebo zingenandawo yebo yakusolwa umqangabhodiya wawamkabayi unahlatshwe zamefa etandamzi unopangakuya yebo wawophilo ilanga eliphumela insizwa
Nasiku, kubafazi! Nasiku, kubafazi! Nasiku, kubafazi! Nasiku!
Zulu! Zulu! Thulani! Lalelani inkosi yethu!
Mageba! Zolo Kamalandela! All the ancestors of the Amazulu! Please accept this new bride as another child in your home. Grant her happiness and many strong sons. Let there be noise! Let there be laughter! Sacrifice the bull. When will that boy learn to behave like a prince?
In school.
Yes, take this.
How, Kupen? Why didn't you tell me Nandi will be here?
I didn't know Ndabizit, but be careful. She can cause trouble.
What trouble can she cause?
How, Ndabizit? What if your father finds out?
How, Koshwe, Lord. Bopanali Ngweba. Nandi! What's the law, Nandi? Bring me beer!
You used me as a plaything.
My little Elange.
Stop it. Marry me, Prince. Make me one of your wives.
Where is my dream?
Get it yourself. No! No!
Babutini?
Leave me alone! No! No! Put me down!
Aye. You'll make matters worse.
started this together, and we'll finish it together.
They're done!
Why have you met with her since your wedding? Senzanga Kona, my son. Your spies are my spies. Now answer me.
Have the members of the council met to discuss a woman?
Answer me.
What of it?
Does that mean that you intend to see her again?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. And how would you define her behavior at your wedding?
Fiery.
Well, suppose you were King Kondo of the Kwabes, or Sodubo of the Nzuzas. What opinion would you have had of her?
That she is beautiful.
And disobedient. Dangerous. Would you have felt being Kondo or Sodubo? But she had insulted you, humiliated you. Your pride should have prevented you from ever wanting to see her again. There is already talk that she has bewitched you. By right, she should have been executed for an act of effrontery to a prince of the Amazulu. So you will erase that woman from your mind. That is not a request. It is an order.
Kupela! Ndabezitha. Umtheleleni ubaba. Umtheleleni ubaba.
Go on, kill him. If it will make you feel any better. Go on, kill him.
Leave him!
The prophecy was about to begin its determined path. A Sitai wielded all the power at her disposal to bring about a series of events which would ultimately fulfill the terms of that prophecy.
Oh, help me.
Meanwhile, in the Zulu kingdom, Senzagakona's first wife was also feeling the effects of her pregnancy. But all was not well. It appears that forces were working against her.
Have you worked this bad?
Yes, Baba. It will be a boy if it lives.
He must live!
It will be difficult, Baba. The life ice is too weak for both to survive.
What are you saying, old woman?
When the time comes, you might have to choose.
There is no choice. He must live. See to it.
Don't you worry, my child. Your father will go to King Makadama and Gazana for advice and demand justice.
And so it was that a messenger was sent by Nandi's parents, demanding that Prince Senzakakona should acknowledge his responsibility towards their daughter.
Come closer, my son.
Hambani.
Have you disobeyed my orders?
No, Baba. It is as you said. The woman's dangerous. She'll resort to anything, even deceit for the sake of her ambition.
Mudri.
Ndabezita.
Send the messenger back. He shall announce that the son of Jama remembers no one by the name of Nandi, daughter of Bebe. If she says she is pregnant, it is either the work of another man or the Ishaka, the disease of the beetle.
Ndabezita. Ndabezita. Ndabezita.
Senzakakona, my son. You send me to our ancestors with a lie. Leave me.
Everywhere, forces were beginning to change the course of Zulu history. The king was dying, and Nandi's child could be born of royal parentage if Senzakakona became king after his father. Meanwhile, Nandi had been summoned to a mysterious meeting in the Nkandla forest. She thought it was to meet her prince, but she did not know.
Senzakakona. Senzakakona.
Yes, Baba.
Will she go?
Yes. She'll want to know what the prince has to say to him. That is so private and so urgent. Yes, Nkosi.
Watch over him.
Yeah.
Protect him from those who surround him. He will need
I shall, Jama. Kandaba Zulu. I swear I shall.
Senza ngakhona. Senza ngakhona, stop this.
Daughter of Bebe, from your womb shall come firstborn of a king, giving birth to a mighty nation of blood-stained spears and thundering black shields.
Bayete! Bayete! Behold the everlasting spear from generation to generation. Umkhonto wenkosi oyisimakade. Nanso-ke inkosi yenu bakithi namhlanje. Behold him, he of the clan, who is your king today.
Zulu! Jono! 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 What is it?
Baba.
Speak!
Your wife, Baba. She has given birth.
Come on, out! Out! Come on! Is it a boy?
The midwife said it is quite common. It often happens.
Answer me, woman. Is it a boy?
Yes.
What is it?
Baba.
Have you got the rope? I've got the rope. Pull hard.
Mother!
All is well. We'll get this beetle into the world as soon as it's ready. Out! Go away. You know we are not allowed in when the mother is in labor. We'll hand him over to you. Tighten the rope. All is well. Pull it. Please, press her down. Now pull out. Right! Now! Push! Push!
Killing me, Mother! It's killing me!
The more you and your child struggle, the greater your love will be. Now push!
It's fighting me, Mother!
No, it's not! Just once more! Push! Push! I have the heads here! Push! It's a boy, Nandi! It's a boy! It's a boy, Bob!
So, this is the prison. The Shaka.
It's a fine beetle, my child. The son of a chief.
It's much more, Mother. Much more.
History had cast its die, and in Africa, a force had been generated that in time would rock the very foundations of the African subcontinent.
a man not blind. Be a man of kindness now, a man so big and strong in mind. Be a man so humble now, a man of men now let it shine. This is what you are, this is how